Hey friends, it's the Circle of Hope Pastors. We're together. We're doing our Someone Asked video cast. We've done a lot of these, so if you want to go back to the archives and check them out, I encourage you to. The question that we're trying to answer today is, how do I rest without making it an obligation?
It's a good question because our society, I think, is so, we get so trained to be full and busy and going all the time that our responsibilities and our schedules can kind of become an obligation. So I'm glad we're talking about it because it still is work for me to make the space to rest without the expectations or sense of obligation to get something out of it.
Yeah, we have to get something out of everything. That's hard.
I think that, go ahead, Rich.
No, go ahead.
Allowing obligation isn't a problem if you begin with the lack of demand on your life from Jesus, right? I hope that we can begin there. And if you feel free in Christ, you can live a disciplined life, including being disciplined about your rest, without being condemned when you fail to do it the right way, right? That's kind of the movement that I live in. I need my disciplines to almost feel like obligations. They don't oppress me because I'm free in Jesus. But my life is structured, scheduled. There's an order to things that I thrive in and that I feel good about when I accomplish. And so that's the space I live in. Rest as an obligation doesn't feel threatening to me because Jesus has already saved me. So I hope that we can start there before you try to work out all your disciplines.
Well, Johnny, I think that's the revelation that Jesus is not demanding upon us, that we are actually free in Christ. That's been a huge help to me in just discovering God's love for me. And
is that why you can do this while driving?
I'm not driving.
Okay.
But Ignatian spirituality has been really helpful to me in learning how to rest, because I was one of those kids that never wanted to sleep because I didn't want to miss a thing. And now I think with the internet and, people working all night long, many people have to work third shift. It's like we can really go around the clock, and it's not good for our bodies and our minds. And so I think we need to receive this truth that God really longs for our health and wholeness. And there's a freedom in that that's going to allow us to live more fully.
Absolutely.
And so when you're talking about Ignatian spirituality, you're talking about actually paying attention, taking time to take stock of what actually happened. It's a moment to slow down and say, okay, who am I? What happened to me? Am I changing? Where's God in this life that is actually happening to me?
Right. And just even to realize oh, wow, I'm tired or I'm hungry, to pay attention enough to those basic things, I think is really crucial.
Absolutely.
Yo, Julie, you told me the other day about this revelation you had with rest when you were in college. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, when I first started taking a day to rest, I would not do any work on Sunday. I wouldn't read or study because I wanted to set that time apart to just be able to listen to God. And I would get to the end of the day and I would feel worse than I felt at the beginning. I'd feel sad. Sometimes I felt depressed, and I was like, what is going on? I'm supposed to feel better after resting. And it took me a while to work it out in dialogue with some friends when I realized actually making space to be with God made space for a lot of things that I wasn't working with, I wasn't paying attention to. They kind of came to the surface. And so I actually had some space to work with my loneliness, to work with my sadness, to work with other things that were going on in me that I hadn't tended to with God. So it's just a word of encouragement that when you make space to rest, if you don't feel better right away, if stuff comes up that you would have maybe been avoiding, that it's actually a good generative process.
Yeah. And that
Great
highlights for me, Julie, how some of the ways that I rest are not as effective for that process as I want.
Yes.
And I'm actually, and everyone's with me in this, we're all avoiding a lot of those negative stuff that comes up when we're still and when we're not being, it's not very restful to get a bunch of stimulation in your mind and brain. Sometimes it's good to blow off steam and laugh at a comedy show on Netflix or whatever, but there's something else that maybe you actually do need it to be an obligation. You need to make a decision that I've heard about people that have gotten beyond that, and I want to experience that. And I don't think that there's much for it but the experience to overcome some of those negative feelings or the obstacles that we face when we attempt to have that connection with ourselves and with God. We have to overcome it, and only Jesus can overcome it with like an actual experience of the rest that we're craving.
And
yes,
Rachel, you're trying to get in?
Yeah. Check out Daily Prayer Water today, because it invites us to that the still waters. He leads us beside the still waters.
So that's the September 27th entry, in case you're in the future and you're watching this.
2018, by the way.
Wow, I didn't even know what year it is. To add a little bit to what Ben's saying, though, the discipline of rest might not feel pleasurable. And I think that's a problem with how we see our rest in our society, because you might think work is terrible, and so my time off needs to be fun. And so you might not learn to rest because you need it to be stimulating and exciting and entertaining. And I think that the kind of rest that Jesus talks about is a little bit different than just pleasure, and a little bit different than just leisure even. And so there's a discipline that happens that may feel uncomfortable to you, and it does for me at times, because I like to be stimulated. Finding that rest and contrasting it with the pleasure or the entertainment that we see as relaxing in the world, I think is an important distinction in our work. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, and I like that. I've heard the term like rest and relaxation, because they're two different things. Like sometimes you need to relax, other times you need to actually rest.
Is that what R&R stands for?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope this video was helpful to you. And if you did find it helpful, share it with people who also may. And if you have questions that you want us to answer, please send them to us and we'll answer them. Subscribe to our channel, like this, and share this around. Until next time.